Happy weekend, my MPP peeps. Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Free-for-All. I'm going to go over all the indices as well as all the chart setups that I like heading into this week. So if you like what you see today and you want this type of analysis each and every day, go to northpostpartners.com, sign up for the trading service. It's only $50 a month. First month is free. You're going to get my trades in real time via Twitter. You're going to get educational videos to help your trading. And you're going to get access to our Zoom calls each and every day so that you can ask me questions and I will answer them live. All right, let's get to the S&P. Pretty bullish into the week. We had a nice high of week close right at 3271, above this 0.886 retrace from this low, or sorry, from this high to this low. So that's bullish. And it appears as if the bulls want to fill this gap right here, right around 3350, 3400. So 3400 is my ultimate target. As long as we can stay above this 10 SMA, which is currently at 3247, I'm looking for 3400. If at any point we lose this 3200 level, the low of last week, right around 3200, I think we get a likely retest of the 50 SMA, which is the 0.50 retrace from this low to this high. And if we lose the 50 SMA, we could possibly pull back to the 200 SMA. And if the top is in, we could pull back to this 2835 area, which is the 0.382 retrace from this low to this high. Okay, or sorry, from this low to this high. So as long as the 10 SMA holds, my target is this 3400. Let's go to the Qs. Qs, nice bullish breakout of this downtrend line, held this uptrend line even when it pulled back early last week. And it appears that the bulls want to take this thing to new all-time highs. And my target is this 282, 280, 282. As long as this uptrend line holds, that's what I'm looking for. The moment we break this uptrend line, I expect at least to test the 50 SMA or 245 on the Qs. So as long as this 10 SMA and uptrend line hold, I'm looking at for 280 first. But we will continue to monitor this trend and look for a retest of this uptrend line at some point, and we'll see if the bulls once again catch it and we continue higher, or if the bears get momentum and we head to this 245 area. But this uptrend line holds the key. So we'll see how that plays out next week. The IWM. We're finally getting multiple closes above the 200 SMA, multiple retests, and we're holding it. This is bullish. The IWM was the weakest indice, and it is now gaining strength. So this is bullish for the overall market, and which is why I think we continue to rally for a bit before we get a bigger pullback. The DIA as well is looking good. Held the 200 SMA, closed above it on Friday. So it's having multiple retests and holding. This is also bullish as well. Let's look at the VIX. Really like the way the VIX is continuing to stay below its 200 SMA. As long as we can stay below this, the rally will likely continue to grind higher, because this indicates investors are willing to hold their positions for higher prices and not sell. So as soon as if this ever pokes above the 200 and starts closing above, we'll change our thesis, and it would warrant caution. But for now, below this 200 SMA, I expect higher prices in the overall markets. All right, let's get to a few names that I like heading into next week. Okay, first up is eBay. I really like how it's pulling back to its 0.236 retrace from this low to this high, right around 53.53. It's held it so far. And we're trying to get back above the 10 SMA, which currently sits at 55.98. If we can get back above that, back above this downtrend line, I'm going to take this for a long with a target of 63.50. This one just had its earnings last week, which is why I feel good about entering this trade. I don't like entering mini trades with earnings coming up just because of the volatility. And I'd rather be free and clear of earnings before making the trade. So eBay is a good opportunity. Next up, we got Netflix. Also has already had its earnings and has pulled back nicely from this low to this high. We pulled back to the 0.618 retrace right around the 50 SMA. It has held and is now broken its downtrend line and back above its 10 SMA. So if it can get back above Friday's high, which was right around 494-ish, 495, I'm going to get long, and I'm targeting 642. Okay, 642. So really nice reward to risk ratio in this name if we get these higher prices. So definitely one to watch. Snap. Snap has had its earnings as well. I like this name, especially after PINS, P-I-N-S, had its earnings and blew earnings out of the water. I'm hoping that this gets a sympathy rally along with PINS. From this low to this high, we have a nice 0.236 retrace. It is holding the 50 SMA. And if we can get back above this 10 SMA and back above Friday's high, I'm taking this name for a long with a target of 30. So really nice reward to risk ratio here. And guys, just so you know, my stops are always a close back below the 10 SMA. So I will buy it above the 10 SMA, and I will be stopped out if it closes a daily close back below the daily 10 SMA. Next up, we got Spot. Spot has had its earnings, pulling back nicely here. If it can get back above the 10 SMA, I like this name for a long, the 320. So really nice consolidation here post earnings after this big run up. And this one looks good for a run to 320 where it can finally get back above this 10 SMA, which currently sits at 271.49. Next up, we got SONO. So SONO is having earnings next week. So this one is definitely going to be a quick trade if it triggers. So I think next week, I believe it's Wednesday. Wednesday is the earnings announcement. So this one's pulling back nicely to 0.236 retrace from this low to this high right around 1560 is a 0.236 retrace. Tagged it, bounced. It's currently testing the 10 SMA. If it can close above the 10 SMA on Monday, I will try to take this for a 2-day trade right before earnings, just for a nice pop. Hopefully, right around here in the upper 17s, lower, sometime somewhere around the mid 17s is where I'd be looking to sell before earnings. They announce earnings on Wednesday. This is just a quick trade idea. I would not hold this through earnings, just in case they miss or the reaction is bad and we head further lower down to this 50 SMA or 200 SMA. So quick trade idea in SONO. TSCO has had its earnings. Really like how it's after the strong uptrend, pulling back, consolidating here, right above its 10 SMA. If it can get back above this high of 146.50, I would look for 180 next. So nice risk reward here. 180 target, and a stop will be a close back below the 10 SMA, which is currently at 144.49. So if we can get back above, again, if we can get back above 146.50, I will take this for a trade. Target 180, stop a close below 144.49. Nice risk reward. Next up, we got XLNX. This one had earnings, a little bit of a negative reaction. I think it had it on Friday, but held the 10 SMA. And nice strong uptrend here. 50 SMA crossing up through the 200. It looks as if it wants to start its rise once again. So I'm looking for 120 as a target. And if it can get back above Friday's high at 108.32, I will take this for a long with a target of 120, and a stop is a close below the 10 SMA, which currently sits at 105.26. So excellent risk reward in this trade as well. And last up, we got YY. This one has earnings. Let me look. Earnings on 8/12. So, we have a good week and a half for this name to show profits. And I really like how this one, after a strong uptrend, has pulled back to its 0.50 retrace from this low to this high, has just broken out of the downtrend line, closed above the 10 SMA on Friday, as well as the 50 SMA. So if this one can get continuation tomorrow or sometime next week, I will take this one for a long. My target before earnings will be 90. So see if I can get a quick 10 points. And the stop will be a close back below the 10 SMA, which is 77.90. So really nice risk reward in this trade as well. But remember, it's at most a week-long trade because of earnings coming up. Okay, guys, that's all the names I have for you this week, but a few of you have requested some names for me to go over, so let's get to those. Okay, so our first batch of names comes from @Naywale Hasan. Your first one is TSM. TSM looks good. Above this 10 SMA, volume coming in. My next target will be 90. If you want to take this trade here, your stop will be a close below the 10 SMA at 74.62. So only 4 points of risk for potentially, 11 points of reward. Nice reward to risk ratio. It is a little extended. So if you wanted to be a little more patient and see if you could come back down and test this 10 SMA, that would, increase your reward to risk ratio and reduce your loss if you were stopped out. But if you'd rather just take the trade here, I do think it's good. And this 90 is a pretty good target. Next up, you got UNICHEMLAB. This one, massive bullish breakout here. Volume's coming in heavy. A little extended, but looks good. Let me do a little fib retrace here. So this one I think could extend all the way to 267, which is a nice target if you're already long. The way this one is continuing higher, it looks like it might want to hit that first before it pulls back. So if you're not long yet, it's worth the risk for a run to 267, but make your stop at 210.44, which is the 10 SMA. So any close below the 10 SMA, I would be out. But this one looks good to 267-ish. Next up, we got can't pronounce this, MANAPPURAM Finance. So this one has had a nice strong run, pulling back to its 200 SMA. I would wait to see if it can hold its 200 SMA and then break the downtrend line right here, okay? So if we can hold this 200 SMA and get back above this downtrend line, say around 168, 170-ish, I think this one is a nice long with a with pretty low risk. If you buy it right around this 200 SMA, I would make my stop a close below the 200 SMA, right around 150. And for me, the target would be 270 if we can get back above this downtrend line. So nice reward to risk. You know, your risk would only be about 15 points, and your reward could be 100 points. So really nice risk reward there. Like that setup. All right, next up you have Lupin. Lupin looks really good. We have a nice 0.236 retrace from this low to this high. It's held it and is now broken back above the downtrend line, back above the 50 SMA and back above the 10 SMA. I think this one is a go for a trade. Really like the volume coming in. My target would be this 1025, and my stop will be a close below the 10 SMA at 864. So pretty good risk reward ratio here, and just like this bullish breakout setup. Looks like they want to take this thing higher to 1025. And if you really believe in this name, 1146, 1150 is also definitely a possibility if if volume continues to come in like this. So, but I would take half off at 1025 and then maybe go for this 1150. All right, next up you got AARTIDRUGS. So this one really extended. So it's hit my 3.414 retrace and 3.272 retrace from this high to this low. So this thing is super extended. I would like to see it at least come back down to test this 10 SMA and fill this gap right here before I would enter long. And then next up is this 1984 target. So I would just wait until your risk is reduced a bit, at least to this 10 SMA, so that if it closes back below the 10 SMA, you would be stopped out for a tiny loss. So it wouldn't hurt you while you were going for this 1984 level. But yeah, this one is just on a tear, and it could continue on a tear. But odds are at some point it's going to pull back. So a gap fill would be healthy and would be a much better entry. All right, next up we have Wings of Fire, at Wings of Fire, and you have a few that you requested, and the first one is CTSH. So CTSH has hit my targets of the 67, 68 level. I think it's pretty extended here. If you are long, I would take some off just to take some profits. If you're not long yet, I would wait for some sort of consolidation at least to work off these overbought levels, at least some sort of consolidation. And then my next target is this 90. So hopefully it can consolidate or possibly come down, test the 10 SMA again, fill the gap, and provide a better entry. But if it continues higher, the risk reward is still pretty good. I mean, look at all this reward, and the risk is only for me, the risk is only to the 10 SMA, and a close below the 10 SMA will be my stop. And that 10 SMA is at 63.75. So, you only got 4.5 points of risk with, 22 points of reward. Pretty good setup right here. But I would just want to see it consolidate a little bit, just so I know I was getting a good entry. Next up, you got LLY. LLY, it's starting to break down below this uptrend line that has been forming. I would wait to see if it needs to come back down and test this 200 SMA. And if it can get back above the uptrend line right here and then above this downtrend line, break above that, then I would buy. And then you could go for this 200. So, just make sure that it holds this 200 SMA. Bulls are ready to buy again. and we break this downtrend line. You know, probably back above the 50 SMA is a good trigger to get long. Next up is ORCL. ORCL is looking good. It's holding this 200 SMA, I think, as long as it can, as long as it holds it, and gets back above the 10 SMA, which is currently at 55.58, and back above this downtrend line, then I think the next target is 60. And then a stop will be a close back below the 10 SMA, which is at 55.58. So if you can get continuation on this thing next week, this is a decent long to 60 and pretty good reward to risk ratio. Next up, you got LEN. LEN, really strong uptrend. The housing space has been strong. It is right at some resistance, you know, right at back to all-time highs here. So it's possible that we could get some more consolidation. But if this thing can break out of this consolidation area right around, you know, 75-ish and get some momentum, my next target will be this 99, 100 level. And a stop will be closed back below the 10 SMA, which currently sits at 70.87. So, you know, for a trade, this is good reward for a little bit of risk. So just watch this 10 SMA. As long as it stays above, you know, I think we got a shot at higher prices. Next up, you got KMTUY. This one I would avoid. It's back below the 10 SMA, back below the 200 SMA. Just wait until it gets back above the 200 SMA to buy it. And if you're long, I would sell, take the loss, and wait for an entry when we're back above the 200 SMA. Next up, you got G. G is looking good. Back above its 200 SMA, 50 SMA about to cross above. You know, this name, if it has bottomed, could be heading back towards 60. So, you know, could be a great entry right here, considering the 10 SMA is at 39.24, and right now it's at 39.82. Could be a really nice entry for a run to 61-ish. You're going to have some resistance here at 42. So if you do enter a trade, I would just take some off if it reaches this 42 area, and then try to ride your runners up to this 61. Just keep your stop at a close below the 10 SMA, which currently sits at 39.24. But I like this. It's above all the major moving averages. And if this was the bottom, then there's a lot of reward for a tiny amount of risk. Okay, that's the show, guys. I'll be back again in 2 weeks for another weekend free-for-all. If you don't want to wait the 2 weeks, just go ahead and sign up for the trading service. You'll get this type of analysis each and every day. Only $50 a month. First month's free. All right, guys. Until next time, don't trade for thrills. Just consistently make those dollar bills. Talk to you guys soon.